I don't know what's happening. Stop doing that.
I'm sorry, we don't have a DVD to show you for this Backseat critique.
We watched it on Netflix.
Yeah, because it's not on DVD. I would actually totally buy these films on Netflix.
They'll probably go on DVD eventually, maybe.
Maybe eventually. Netflix seems to not like DVD cut a lot of the time.
They sent me an email the other day being like, oh, good news, your rates are going up to $10.99 a month, but I really can't complain because I've had Netflix since they posted you 2 DVDs. And the reason that this was back in the day, and the reason that I've had Netflix since the beginning was when I moved out of where I was living and then I moved down to Virginia, I lost 2 of their DVDs in my house, and it was Pink Floyd's The Wall and Mirror Mask. That
I have one of those on DVD.
I actually never ended up seeing Mirror Mask. I was gonna wait until I was in a fun state and then watch it, and that never happened. And so I tried to cancel, and they were like,
"State like Oregon."
Yeah. It's my favorite one. I got there on the Oregon Trail. But so basically I tried to cancel and they're like, oh, friendo, you can't cancel because you still owe us these DVDs. You should probably, pay us for them. And I was really skint then. And I was like, that's okay. I'll just keep my Netflix thing. And then they started streaming. And by then I had a lot more money. And I was like, okay. So I paid off. I said, I lost these 2 DVDs 5 years ago. And so I still have Netflix. So I'm an early adopter.
So anyway, this is a...
We didn't need to know that at all.
This is a patron request with Backseat Critique. If you are waiting for one, please annoy me about it.
You should have a spreadsheet. You should tell them to tell me, and I'll make a spreadsheet. I love Excel.
Okay, yeah, you can tell Omega, and he'll do a spreadsheet. The problem is,
email me though.
Omega works like 17 hours a day, 8 days a week, and doesn't like films to begin with. So, tying him down and nailing him to the sofa long enough to make him watch a film is quite difficult.
I'm an early career researcher, and I have a lot to do. There's a project that I'm running recruitment on. I'm also was the architect of our survey.
Yeah.
So I'm also working on a research paper right now. So
I mean,
it's all my fault.
I'm not lazy. I just don't like to do Backseat critiques by myself because I'm boring by myself.
It's like a vlog, like, hey, like and subscribe. Me.
I'm boring by myself. So, whenever Aaron and Sarah were over, we did, 15 Backseat critiques together.
I will, but we may see them in the future, because they've been saying about coming over, so...
Yeah, next time they come to visit, hey, Aaron and Sarah, totally make them watch a bunch of films.
They have a very cute dog.
Anyway, this patron has requested that we watch all 3 of the Fear Street movies, and... we're doing them one at a time, with a little bit of period between them, let it ruminate and stuff. Probably do the second one in a week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that.
Now let me say that I read some of the Fear Street books when I was a kid. Because I am the youngest possible Gen Xer. So I was probably a little bit older than the age, so I was maybe in my tweens. I know they were written for little kids. But I was expecting a horror movie for little kids. I was expecting, oh no, it's a slasher. Oh wait, it's just old Mr. Jones, the pedophile who runs the library. Something like that.
Oh, that's so much more appropriate for children.
You know what I mean, because it was always it was always Creepy Mr. So-and-so. And I always thought to myself when I watched Scooby-Doo and it was Creepy Mr. So-and-so, and I was like, he looks like one of those people that they told me in school you should never be alone with or get into their van. Just saying. But yeah, I thought it was going to be that until 9 Inch Nails starts playing in the beginning, and I was like, that's not for kids! And you said what?
I can't remember
what I said. You said what it was pretty witty.
I can't remember what
We're like, yeah, it's not for kids, it's rated, whatever.
I can't remember what I said. And I say 700 witty things a minute.
So basically... I liked this film a whole lot more than I thought that I would, or how you put it that I was prepared to.
Yeah.
Because the beginning, she's working at B. Dalton, which at that time still was independent and not, most of them hadn't become Barnes & Noble locations. And I was like, wait, pause it, actually, because I spent 10 years working at Barnes & Noble.
In the first 20 or 30 minutes of this, Omega would pause it every so often just to give a lecture lyrical about the set decoration.
Being American in the 90s. There's a part, so she's working in a mall, and there's several food court shots, and it's so great, because these are pretend food court businesses, with the design, the layout, the branding, the absolute aesthetics of, Boardwalk French Fries and Sbarro. And I was like, I get that it's me. And then, like, the person that dies in the beginning, spoilers, her boyfriend works at basically Spencer's. And I was just like, oh, I love it.
I've never seen you...
right in my veins.
I've never seen you so impressed with the set decoration of a film
I
before.
like See, the thing is that usually when we watch horror films, I get distracted by background details. Like, we saw one horror film and it was really, really bad. But the
that was
kitchen...
like Ouija, I think. Ouija?
No, it wasn't Ouija. It was the one where he, like, has a tether to go into the nether realm that's in the closet to get his wee boy back.
That was Insidious 2, which we never saw Insidious 1, and then I asked if you're going to be confused by Insidious 2 without seeing Insidious 1, and I was told, no, Insidious 1 makes perfect sense, it'll be perfectly fine. And then we go in there, and it's this fucking deranged time travel ghost dimension bullshit.
But the sink...
It's not even good deranged.
The sink in the kitchen of the house, I wanted... It was the best sink, but I get distracted by details. And I just... It must be a spectrum thing. That's just how I am. But I was just like... And I think it's just because the world is so bad, and I'm officially middle-aged, and I am so old now, and everything is just so depressing. And I'm like, yeah, the 90s... when all the problems weren't anything I had to pay attention to. Because I lived in the wrapped up in my teenage cocoon of blissful ignorance and privilege. Let's go back to that.
And
Look, it's those spaghetti strap shirts that all your friends and girlfriends wore with, like, the thing on and all.
And in comparison, as far as I can tell, the most accurate recreation of the 90s in a film from where I grew up was Sunset Heights, because it was meant to be set in the future, but they just filmed Northern Ireland of the time, and it looked like Northern Ireland. It was filmed in Derry, set in Derry. It looked like Derry. The weather was perfect. It looks like Derry. Yeah, it was a grey morass of just people with ridiculous outfits doing stupid shit.
Well, now you've got Derry Girls.
Derry Girls is way too bright and peppy. And
it's a comedy.
Yes, but it's not. It is not an accurate reproduction.
It's not Belfast.
No, it's not an accurate reproduction of Northern Ireland in the 90s, of Derry in the 90s in particular.
Well, I think it's
like it's not trying to be.
One day I was walking. I was. Where was I going? I used to volunteer at victim support, so I think I was walking over to victim support. I had to walk through the Guildhall Square, and there was a whole bunch of PSNI, the police, around standing about, and there was a podium set up in the Guildhall. So it was they were preparing for something. And I saw the presidential seal. And I went out to one of the police. I said, here, Trump's not coming here, is he? Because you'd think that would be something that you'd hear about. And your man goes, oh, no, we're filming for Derry Girls. We're doing the scene. Remember, you mind when Clinton came? And I said, hi, right enough, as if I was there, because I wasn't. But he's like, yeah, no. Oh, God, no, if Trump came here, we'd drop him off the top of the walls. So that was great.
I mean, I like Derry Girls. It's just it captures the sense of humor of Derry very, very freakishly accurately. It is very good in that regard. It's just as a recreation of Derry in the 90s, it's not accurate, and look-wise, it is way too bright and happy looking. Like you get about 5 days a year in Derry where it looks like that bright and happy.
It is, yeah. The sun is. It was really great because there was.
Derry is grey.
For a while, we were getting these adverts before YouTube, and it was for TransLink, which is the local like bus and train. They run.
J.K. Rowling will not approve.
I know, right? No, they're the local transit authority. But it was really great because you have these people like, oh, I get the bus to Foyleside all the time. But then all of the shots, it's like bright and sunny, and I'm like, you lying liar. And like it was someone from like I think it was from Top of Hill, like getting the bus to Foyleside. I'm like, can you not walk? Like, yeah, but anyway, yeah, no, it's all. Although the past month has been remarkably aggressively sunny.
It has been. Yeah, it's unusual. Yeah, it looks more like middle of France or northern Spain.
No, it's not like France, but anyway. So basically, the plot of this is so in slasher movies you get like the one good person in the group of people that you hate and you can't wait to see die in creative ways, or like everyone's a dick and you hate them. This is like the inverse of that trope where like all the characters are like really well fleshed out and like really grounded and have character development, and you're like when some of them die you're like oh no, and there was
like the inverse of the Friday the 13th movies where you have a giant cast of dicks who are there only to appear, be a dick, and then die.
And you're like, oh, good job, good job.
I mean, that's the height of Friday the 13th. They're not all like that. I mean, Friday the 13th Part 3 has some heady teen drama, and I got really sad when Jason kept killing people because I was like, Jason, go away. I want to know if Shelley's gonna learn some self-esteem.
But, alright, so spoilers, but it's a slasher, so you know that. So basically, there's the main character who, couldn't tell if she was Hispanic or she was mixed, because her little brother looked like he was more black than Hispanic.
Yeah, he was African American.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think she was meant to be mixed.
I got the feeling, because you never see the dad or the mom, I got the feeling that's just colorblind casting, and they were like, families have all kinds of different ethnicities and mixes, so you don't need to explain it. And that's fine.
But, like, in the beginning of it, like, the main character girl, who's a badass, by the way, in the marching band, and she's, like, mooning over Sam, and they've had a rough breakup, and she puts this box together, and it's like, oh, fuck you, and stuff like that, and then you,
There'd be lesbianisms.
I was gonna say it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so then you, like, see, like, they go, after, like, the first killing, there's this memorial, these two towns come, this is the low-class, like, lower socioeconomic status town, and then there's, like, the rich, higher socioeconomic, and they fight, they have a thing.
The subtext is not subtle, and it gets less subtle as the films go on.
I reckon. But, so they're having, like, so the two towns come together, and, you see, like, a guy and a girl making out, and she's like, and you're like, oh no, that's Sam, and he's, like, squeezing this girl's butt, oh no. And then, like, the girl comes up and finds our main character, and she's like, listen. And then, like, she's like, and another thing. And I was like, oh, she's going to call her a homewrecker and stuff like that. And then you realize that she's Sam. And she's like, you broke up with me. Yeah, because you moved to, like, Richtown. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah, you were really surprised. I thought it was really obvious given what was going on. But you're like, whoa.
But I didn't know this was made in 2021. I thought this was made in, like, 2008 or something.
Really?
Yeah, remember I Googled it and said, oh my god, this was made last year.
Oh, yeah, with Netflix. Yeah, they made it themselves.
I had to look up IMDb. Yeah, but I didn't pay attention. You didn't tell. You said okay. When something's on Netflix, it could be a Netflix original, but it also could be like we bought the rights to this.
Well, Netflix original, they usually put that on things they buy the rights to, as well. So, but this is something they actually produced.
Yeah, but I didn't know that.
There's stuff they have on Netflix. They have stuff that they are claiming that they made, but they didn't actually make. And then they've got stuff they did actually make.
Yeah, but then they had but when we had to search it. But like Ferris Bueller's Day Off was the first one that came up. That's not a Netflix original, nor is it anything.
Yeah. No one would.
You're not fooling anyone, Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix would not be able to put a Netflix original on that.
Yeah. But I really like that kind of thing that plays with your privilege aspect. Another film that we saw that I really liked that did that perfectly was Detective Pikachu. And I can't believe I'm saying that with a straight face. I firmly believe that it relied on your own internal racism that, because the main character is African American, and then you see, like, the rest of, like, his mother's family, and they're all African American. You see pictures, like a picture of her that he has, and you're like, all right. So, that his father was a cop, and now his father's dead. And then, his father's Ryan Reynolds. And you're like, shock and surprise. And you're like, oh, I didn't expect that because Ryan Reynolds is white. And I'm a racist. But anyway, no, it was real. And I tweeted very early on that we were watching it. And I said, this is like being lovingly caressed by all my happy 90s memories except, like,
the interesting thing is, because, Omega obviously remembers the 90s in America completely because, his age and stuff. Well, I remember the 90s, but of Northern Ireland, so my exposure...
Which is, like, 15 years behind the rest of the world.
And it was not nice.
What did you tell me when I first moved here? Mm-hmm. They were like, oh, like, peppers, bell peppers. Oh, they're just not a thing. They weren't a thing until, like, such and such in, like, early 2000s. And I was like, don't tell lies. And you were like, no, and it actually turned out that your mom just didn't make peppers. But
I also didn't get them in school.
Well, that doesn't matter because
that was my context.
I know people in Derry that have had peppers.
That was my context.
I'm just saying.
But my point is, my exposure to America in the 1990s is entirely through films and television and stuff like that. So you were looking at that and being all like, look at all the real life stuff and how amazing that is, and look at that. While I was looking at it being all like, the cinematography here it does not convince as a 1990s film. Because it looks like a modern film set in the 90s rather than a film that is trying to make you think is made in the 90s.
But because everything was perfect, because you have to understand, you're thinking about America in the 90s as you perceived it through
films.
Media.
Yeah.
I lived it.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's exactly it. No, that really is. Even the fucking cinder blocks in the school toilets, I was like, yeah, I can almost smell. Well, not smell the toilet. You know what I mean? Like walking through those hall, like, you know, the science lab. You know, like it just every part of it just hit. And it was, some of it was like anachronistic. Like there was diegetic music that like Machine Head played when it wouldn't come out as a single until '96.
Or they had, you know,
White Town's You're a Woman played. Even though that wouldn't be.
And then they have stuff like non-diegetic music where they had like they had Prodigy playing like Firestarter.
We had a discussion about diegesis.
And I was like, I'd never heard that
because
before.
The only reason I know the difference is from Lindsay Ellis's video essay about cats, which I most recently watched when I was in the hospital, because it was one of the YouTube videos that I had on my tablet, and so I was like just come out of general anesthetic, and I just like put all the video essays that I downloaded on shuffle. And so I like woke up like, and I've seen it before, but I woke up in the middle, and then there's like what's her face, Rebel Wilson mincing about as a cat, and I was just like, I'm too fucked up for this.
See, part of our different, we've got the obvious reason, we've got our very different context for the 90s in America,
So 90s.
But also I'm also aware of there are a type of period piece, which has been made with the idea of trying to convince you that it was made at the period. It's not just set then. Ty West's House of the Devil does this very, very well. And I was thinking originally, because I didn't recognize any of the actors at the start, that they were possibly going to go for that. And I was like, okay, no, they're not going for that. It's just a period film.
We saw something that, like, it was within the past year, no, actually, it might have been before the COVID. I remember watching a movie with you that I was shocked. I think we thought it was, like, I was shocked it wasn't an actual 80s film. Like, it was made very, very recently. Do you remember what it was? Do you remember one film that we might have seen together anytime since the COVID?
I watch usually at least 1 or 2 films a day.
Well, we did. But see, the thing is that I really appreciate when that kind of thing is done well. And yeah, it didn't, obviously was in HD, like obviously, everyone, but the attention to detail was amazing.
Well, you can't get HD stuff from back then. It's just 35mm, which is the usual sort of filming stock. It's not HD.
Well, apparently...
Or it can be once you post-process it, but 70mm is perfect for HD, but that was very rarely used outside of
I recall that.
I think the last one to use that was like The Master.
Well, anyway, I read on IMDb because we looked it up. The director and co-writer was a teen in the 90s, and so she drew a lot from her own personal experience. But every single fucking prop in every single cell is perfect, and it was progressive. Like there's a bit character, and I was like, okay, I think I get what you're going for here. That they show up to the hospital because they want to see the girlfriend, and the nurse is like, visiting hours are over, and they're like, oh, we want to see Nurse Betty. And then, so this male appearing nurse wearing pink scrubs with a name tag that says Eddie, but with a B scratched in front of it, goes, oh, hey, guys. And then White Town's Your Woman plays. And they're like, oh, hey, Betty, can you sing this in? And they're like, oh, well, I gotta be careful, but I do have my key, come on. So I guess, this person is coded as being trans, but not being able to transition, but they know them, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, that's Betty. They do their thing, and I was like, that's pretty cool, actually.
I'm still trying to remember that film.
I don't remember what it was.
Do you remember anything about it?
No, just that we watched it on the couch. Listen, the past 2.5 years have been really difficult for all of us.
I mean, the last film I watched was partway through the 7-hour art house German language film about Hitler. So,
spoilers, you know how it ends.
Probably into the massive, ridiculous outfit and, weird stuff happening on stage. Because this film is weird. The bit I paused it at, Hitler is standing in the grave of Richard Wagner, wearing a toga, talking about art.
How did he get into Wagner's grave?
I'm not sure. It's all on a stage.
Oh, one of those.
It like makes the empty mirror look restrained and normal.
I think it was an 80s. It was like we were shocked that it might have been a horror. I can't remember.
Was it The Final Girls? I doubt it.
No, I won't think of it. You probably, but it's not important, patron. Don't. But anyway, but no, I really did enjoy this because I really usually don't like horror movies because they're either horror movies as far as I'm concerned fall into three categories. Ones that are meant to be funny. They're meant to be entertaining. They're meant to be like, look where his nostrils ended up, yeah, dick.
Yeah, most of the Friday the 13th ones are in there.
Ones that are meant to be scary, but aren't.
Some of the Friday the 13th ones are in there.
And ones that are actually frightening. Like The Orphanage. That was a horrible night.
Like, one of the Friday the 13th ones was originally in there, probably, but not anymore.
What was that one that you watched with Horror Scott?
Necromantia?
Yeah, the really low budget one that was actually really effective.
Fantastic. Yeah, that was the Redneck Hellraiser.
Aye.
That was good.
Yeah.
Slasher film, okay. Slasher films that are really, really good, but a little bit obscure. You Might Be the Killer was really amusing, which I watched by myself.
The Killer is
It was based on Chuck Wendig and this other guy having like a Twitter discussion. Literally, just in character, they were having a little Twitter discussion.
He's from Pennsylvania, Chuck Wendig is.
Ah. Yeah. Well, Chuck this guy sort of messaged Chuck being all like, Chuck, I'm in the middle of a camp in the 1970s, and, this guy's killing everyone. What's going on? They have a back and forth, and
nice.
It turns, and, the ending thing is, dude, are you aware of this? But you might actually be the killer. And he's like, oh, no! And that's the plot of the film. It's
that's
this
great.
guy, he's in a slasher film, and he's calling his best friend Chuck, played by Alison Hannigan, in like a geeky shop, and, they're discussing what's going on, and then she finally has to break it to him, dude, you might be possessed by this evil mask that's making you kill people. It's great.
Like, ones that, understand what they're doing. It's like, how when I was a kid, I was like, Picasso's really bad at art, actually. And, oh, really, says my art teacher to, primary school me. And I was like, yeah, that's not even a person. It's just, I could draw better than that. And she said, what Picasso understood was, you have to understand how everything comes together so you can take it all apart. And I was like,
no, Picasso does look
I have to go.
art.
But her point is that, okay, just because you're seeing, a specific painting doesn't mean that he didn't paint, actual things.
Yeah, he did better pictures, too.
Right, so her point was, the people who played with perspective and who played with all that kind of stuff, it was because they understood how things actually should be. Well, at least that's what Mrs. Reed told me when I was in primary school. But like I said, Cabin in the Woods and Final Girls understood to the point of referencing tropes. Understood exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, and
The Void was good. The Void wasn't actually frightening, but I did enjoy it. It was entertaining.
Oh yeah, that's the guys who did Manborg. You Might Be the Killer is very much like The Final Girls in that way.
Killer is you.
For other Netflix slasher thing, which I kind of wish we'd been asked to review because I really want to watch this with Eric.
Don't give them
and
ideas.
That's the Babysitter movies, the two of them.
She mentioned it.
So good.
I thought you meant the Babysitter's Club books, and I was like, I never read those.
Samara Weaving is a fucking amazing. I want her to be in everything. She is brilliant. She plays Bill's daughter in the new Bill and Ted.
Right.
She is the babysitter, and she was in Guns Akimbo with Harry Potter.
I think we watched the trailer, and then I looked up the plot on Wikipedia, and I was like, yeah, no.
I wasn't fond of it, the plot. It was fine as a thing, and Alex Winter really brought his A game with acting. Keanu Reeves was nowhere near as good as Alex Winter, which blew me away because Alex Winter doesn't act very much anymore. But
I thought you meant in The Babysitter. I was like, I didn't know.
Oh, sorry, no, in the Bill and Ted 3. But
Keanu Reeves is tired. Leave him alone. He's probably still really upset about Cyberpunk. He's like, I really believed in you.
And it's just Bill and Ted 2 had the greatest ending of early 90s cinema. And it being undone makes me sad. And then, making it, retconning it so that Bill and Ted aren't the ones who do the thing, it just ruins it a little bit in retrospect. But as a film, it's fine. As a concept, it's good. It's just
But Alex Winter's a good crack. I follow him on Twitter, so...
Yeah, Alex Winter's great.
What does it? Was just I really enjoyed. I think I really enjoyed it because, as I say, you know...
And you got the ambiguously queer drug guy who ends up getting...
I thought he was the boyfriend of the one other female character, and then, like, you notice that he's got, like, his nails painted, and I realized, oh, wait, like, yeah, he doesn't seem to be, like, that all annoyed that she's, like, kissing the main character's little brother. And he's like, oh, she sees something special in you. Trust me, she's been my friend for years. She's just mean.
Yeah.
And I was like, aw.
And then he's, like, you know, taking every opportunity to, you know, ambiguously femme it up a bit. He's a bit like a queer Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, he does remind me of Shaggy, especially in the drug abusing part. Like, there's this part where, like, everybody gets it on. Although they use the phrase "go to Pound Town," which is an aughts phrase. That's not a 90s phrase. But yeah, so, like, the two lesbian characters have a make-out scene, and then the main character's best friend kind of, like, takes her little brother, who's obsessed with her, to, like, first base. And then, because they all have to get changed and wash the blood off. It's confusing. But then, so he's in the gents' toilet, and he's, like, flexing and stuff, and he's like, yeah, yeah, and then he's like...
Would you fuck me? I'd fuck
me.
He
didn't say that, but, like, it's kind of implied that he's, like, sticking his hand into his joxers. And then, so at the end, he was like, oh my god, did you... And she's like, just first base, with, like, the younger brother, who I think he's meant to be, like, 15 or 16.
It's really hard to tell the ages of the characters because they're all at least 5 years older than the
like, on IMDb, like, all of their, like, pro shots, they look like, you know, models in their mid-20s. But then, like, you know, like, the two girls come in, he's like, oh, did you guys go to Pound Town? They were like, well, and he's like, I did too. That's the best character.
The little brother has excellent taste in music. I mean, he was playing Iron Maiden and White Zombie.
He's like
White Zombie a year before the song came out. Good work.
He was playing video games. You know, the Konami code. He was on AIM. Although IMDb did point out that he was using his AIM chat room was using, even though chat rooms weren't a thing until '97, was using Calibri font, which would not be invented until 2007. But it's fine. It's fine.
He's on the deep web, and he's, you know, developed time travel. It's so deep, it's the future.
Dad said you weren't allowed to be on that. AOL's expensive, okay? And I was like, no, it's not. You just have to keep getting all the free discs. Make up a new screen name.
Anyway,
but, like, it was like heroin in my vein hearing the noise, the AIM noises.
And you got...
Google it, Zennials, or Gen Zs.
And you got the various killers. Now, clearly the skull one is Scream, the axe one is Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th Part 2, because Part 3 gets his hockey mask, and Part 1 it was Mrs. Voorhees who was the killer.
Right.
And the third one, the woman, the depressed woman who keeps singing the oldies song, I can't think of what she's been inspired by, because all the rest of them are clearly, like, references to other things. Like, that one they invented? Okay.
Mm-hmm. It could be, like, just... Or it could be an inversion of the trope where, like, the babysitter is the one that's killed. Which was based on an actual cold case. That's, like, still a cold case from, like, the 60s. Of this young woman who was babysitting kids, and she was murdered.
Could be.
But I don't know. But yeah, and like one thing I did like, you know, because the kid's like a conspiracy theory, like, oh, I know, I have all the newspaper clippings, and like, you know, he's gonna be fucking totally into the X-Files. Are you having trouble sitting up because of your back?
Ah, my back is damaged.
He'll be totally into the X-Files when it starts in a year or two. But like, he was like, and then this one in 1935, and this one in 1922, and this one in 1902. And it reminded me of the X-Files first season episode Tombs.
Oh,
where
yeah.
they, like, go back to, like, the history of Powhatan Mills and, like, how, like, there's a series of murders every 30... Was it 35 or 36 years?
It was something like that, yeah.
I think it was 35 years.
Sorry, ever since we spent over a week in a travel lodge without anywhere to sit, my back has been fucked because we have the very hard beds, very little place I can, you know, sit comfortably. And so and these sofas are not good for
these sofas are very low. The house that we're in now, we rent... And in Ireland, it's very normal for people not to have their own furniture, and you just move into a furnished place. So these, they're both old. Like the other couch it like dips down, so we have an old duvet stuffed under the cushion, so it's level. This one, the legs are slowly going like this, and so it's like very short. And I'm fine because
This is the perfect size for you.
5'1".
But for me, it's almost impossible for me to sit here for long periods of time.
We're running up to half an hour and we talk about everything.
Yeah. It's good. It
was good, yeah.
It's far better than you would expect from an R.L. Stein adaptation.
But
he's someone who...
He's good crack as well, apparently. Total Class act.
You know, I didn't read the books, but I remember
every single one of the Fear Street books always had the phrase "unspeakable horror" in the blurb in the back, and you had to find. So you could find it quickest.
What is the unspeakable?
But when they discovered the unspeakable horror of Fear Street.
What is the unspeakable horror in this film then?
Well, I mean, it was Sarah Fear. She's always the unspeakable horror.
Oh.
But so Patron will watch the other two in the next coming times. We hope this was everything that you dreamed of and more, but good selection. Good 90s-ness. I really enjoyed that.
And yeah, and a girl gets her face jammed into like a bread slicer.
Which I don't think it would actually technically work like that.
That is the best kill of the film.
Because technically a bread slicer is just like a wire that was like this. There's not really any tension on it.
Yeah, maybe it's a meat slicer. But yeah, there aren't that many kills in this. There was the two at the start. There's the one at the start. Yep, two because they got shot. And then there's the boyfriend, and then there's the two at the end. So there's 5, which is very conservative for a slasher film. You know, some Friday the 13th ones are approaching 20, if not over.
Entire states.
Oh yeah. The sort of like Friday the 13th 6, 7. At the height of their just dumbness, they just have characters. These characters walk into the film for no reason whatsoever, talk about how they're going to do this thing, and they're just being dickheads, and then 2 minutes later they're just stabbed.
Wilhelm scream.
That was the entire point. Big casts getting killed in inventive ways. That was the point. Well, this one it's more conservative and concentrated.
Meaningful deaths.
Yes, I'm hoping the deaths get more interesting in the later.
Well, the next one's about a summer camp, so I'm sure a lot of children and a lot of annoying teenagers who bone will be summarily dispatched.
Yeah, it's going to lean heavily into the Jason Voorhees stuff.
So that'll do it for us. Keep your eye on that YouTube.
Bye-bye. Ow, my back. My back is so sore.
Well,
I'm like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man.
Aww.
My back. My back.
He works hard as an actor.